Hi guys, it's Marc Zicree, Mr. Sci-Fi, also known as Marc Zicree of Space Command, and I wanted to share something with you today that I just did. There's a company called Skyboat Media that's affiliated with Blackstone Audio, and they're going to be releasing the audio play I did recently of Magic Time, which is a trilogy of novels I wrote for HarperCollins with my friends Barbara Hambly and Maya Bonhoff and Robert Charles Wilson, and it was also released as unabridged audiobooks by Blackstone. It started off as a TV pilot that Elaine and I wrote that was optioned 8 times by Henson and Netter Digital and Davis Entertainment and so forth, and that I still intend to do as a TV show. And Skyboat asked me to do an afterword to the audio play, and I was happy to do it. And I thought, well, as long as I'm recording this for the audio, why don't I shoot it as a video? So I thought it'd be fun to share with you the afterword that will be on the Magic Time audio play. And if you want to purchase the audio play, you can reach out to Skyboat Media or Blackstone Audio, and you can also, of course, buy the 3 Magic Time novels through HarperCollins or Blackstone Audio. So that's it for now, and here's the afterword from the great Zicree office. So talk to you soon. Bye bye. Hi, I'm Marc Scott Zicree, creator of Magic Time, and I just wanted to spend a few minutes telling you about how Magic Time came to be created and where you can go to follow more of the journey and the storyline and the saga of Magic Time. So, where to start? Well, Magic Time started as a 2-hour pilot, TV pilot script that Elaine and I wrote. My wife Elaine Zicree and I wrote. We write and direct and produce a number of TV projects together, and so I wrote it some time ago with her. I'm the one who initially came up with the idea. The germ of the idea was some years ago here in Los Angeles. There was an earthquake, and all of a sudden all the power went out, and everyone came pouring out of their apartments and their houses, and all the barriers between people were down. It was no longer income or race or anything that separated us or defined us. It was simply we were all people in the same situation needing to help each other because there was no power, because we all were experiencing the same event. And I saw that people basically rose to their best selves. For the most part, people were helping each other. They were being extremely generous and extremely kind. And I thought this would be a very interesting thing to explore. And so the idea of having all the machines stop was a great starting point for how Magic Time would begin. But then I wanted to take it beyond just that, and the idea of magic coming back, the idea of coming up with a pseudoscientific explanation for why physics in certain ways would stop working, science would stop working, guns would stop working, and magic. The basic notion was that long ago magic held sway, that our time of myths was a sort of a race memory of when magic actually worked, and certain people were these mythical creatures, and then it stopped long ago, and now it's come back. And so that was a very interesting starting point. And I wanted most people to stay human. I wanted most people to not have magical abilities, but I thought some people would develop magical abilities, and some people would turn into sort of the archetypal mythical creatures that they were by their nature. So they would become more of what they were by their innate inner personalities. And I didn't want to have it be, all rules are off the table and anything goes, because that doesn't make for a good story. So I wanted to limit the number of creatures. So I looked at the different myth systems around the world, and I saw that many myth systems had little nasty orc kind of guys, gremlin-y, goblin-y kind of guys. They also had fairy-like creatures, sort of these ethereal, glowing, magical beings, and they also had dragons. And so using those 3 creatures as my basis, I went from there. And the idea, and then I had to create characters who would represent those aspects and those personalities. And I knew that I wanted dragons to be the rarest of all. And also in creating a villain, you want to create someone who's fun, who's not just evil and one note. And for me, someone who was, I won't say evil, but at least certainly had a dark core, let us say, or at least certainly a powerful and funny demeanor, nature, personality was Howard Stern. And I thought Howard Stern would make a very interesting dragon and a very interesting villain, and he, because he basically speaks his mind and pulls no punches and goes conversationally into areas that most people don't. And so I used him as the template for my character Stern, Eli Stern, and that's why I named him Stern. And in my own life, my parents were both married 4 times, and I have a number of younger siblings from my father's marriages, and one of my siblings is my sister Christina, who's 19 years younger than me. And I was helpful to her in helping to put her through college, and so I thought it'd be very interesting to have the relationship of an older brother, younger sister, where they're both orphaned, and he's looking out for her. And also, Charles Beaumont was a writer on Twilight Zone, and his son Chris, when Beaumont died prematurely in his 30s, and their mother died, Chris Beaumont got himself declared an adult and became the guardian of his younger siblings. Charles Beaumont was one of the great writers of the Twilight Zone, and I heard that story when I interviewed Chris for the Twilight Zone Companion, when I wrote that book. So all of this was basically fodder for this idea and creating this universe. And then so I thought the idea of a 27-year-old hero and his 12-year-old sister would be very, very interesting. I thought the idea of her falling ill and at first not knowing what that is, and her becoming something no longer human, I thought would be very cool. And at one point on a flight across the country, the woman sitting next to me was a professional ballerina, and I spent the entire flight talking to her about what that was like, and we became friends. And later, when I was writing Magic Time, I talked to her and I interviewed her about what that life was like and what that world was like, and so I utilized that as well. And I basically took a run at the first draft of the 2-hour pilot, and then Elaine and I rewrote it and polished it and so forth. And then in terms of Colleen, I was very interested. I love writing strong women. I'm married to one. My mother was one. And so I like strong female characters. Often in real life, I find that when the chips are down, the person who tends to get hysterical is the man, and the person who holds it together tends to be the woman. And so, so having a blue-collar character who's very strong and very self-sufficient and as a hunter, I thought would be a very cool character, and I liked that idea. And I'm also very interested in people who are in the wrong lives or in the wrong relationships. And so when we first meet Cal and Colleen, Cal is in the wrong profession. He's certainly in a job that doesn't suit him, and Colleen is in the wrong relationship. She's with Rory, who of course turns into a grunter, and so that was very, very fun. And I love the idea of surrogate families, people who create family relationships with other people, become friends, and become essentially family. And so Doc and Colleen and Cal and Goldie and Tina become a surrogate family, essentially, because they need each other. And again, I'm very interested in the people we don't see, the homeless people, the people who are service people that most people look through, and I tend to talk to them, and I tend to befriend them. There was a handyman in our building many years ago, very nice guy, and I learned that he was homeless, and he and I started talking and became friends, and so I kind of based a lot of Goldie on that person. And in terms of Doc, there are a number of Russian and Ukrainian immigrants in our neighborhood, and many of them moved here just after Chernobyl, and many of them were from Kiev, which at the time was part of the Soviet Union, and now, of course, is part of Ukraine. And so I talked to them and found out about that experience and what that was like, and so Doc became that character, and as a hot dog vendor on the streets of New York, because everyone comes to New York, everyone starts their life over, immigrants come there, the Statue of Liberty is there, and I thought he would be a very interesting character, someone who had been a doctor, has given that up because because of the loss of his wife and daughter, and what happened at Chernobyl, and then he has to become a doctor again. He has to come alive, because Magic Time is about people coming to their true selves and coming alive again and finding who they really are. And I thought that would be fascinating. And then in terms of the actors that we cast, Christina Moses was a wonderful actress. Most recently, she starred in Containment on the CW. Now she's doing an 8-episode arc on the originals. She's also in Space Command, a project that Elaine and I are writing and directing and producing. And but we discovered her when Elaine and I co-wrote with Michael Reeves, and Elaine and I directed and executive produced a new Star Trek episode starring George Takei. And Sulu's character gets marooned with a female crew member on an alien planet, and they have a daughter together. And I knew I wanted to cast an African American or mixed race actress for that role. And Christina Moses came in, and she was terrific. She was the most amazing actress I'd ever seen. And so I cast her in that. If you want to watch that entire episode, it was nominated for the Hugo and Nebula Awards, and it's on marczicree.com. And you can watch the entire episode there. It's called World Enough in Time. And so Christina was fabulous in that. So then I knew I wanted her in Magic Time. So we shot a trailer for Magic Time, and when we decided to do the audio play, we of course cast Christina. In terms of Armin Shimerman, I thought that Armin would be terrific. I've cast him in many things. He was in a Deep Space Nine episode called Far Beyond the Stars that I came up with. He was in Lazarus Man when I was a producer on that show, writer-producer. We've worked together on many things. And so I wrote the role for him in Magic Time, and he's, of course, spectacular. And then David Paulson, who plays Cal on the audio play, Ray Bradbury was one of my mentors, and for over a decade of the last years of Ray's life, I would go over to Ray's house once a month, and we just sit and talk and share stories and share life experience, and it was a phenomenal experience. And Ray was putting on many plays at that time based on his short stories and novels, and he put on a play of Fahrenheit 451 and invited me to it, and David Paulson played Montag in Fahrenheit 451, and he was quite wonderful. So I reached out to him for Cal. We became friends, and I think he does a great job. And then Tony Cohen, my friend Tony Cohen of Ireland, plays Stern, and again he does a great job, and I'm very very glad to have him in Magic Time. So beyond that, this is just the tip of the iceberg. If you enjoyed listening to Magic Time, or if you're about to listen to it, or whatever point you are on Magic Time, I hope you like it. I like it a lot. And but after we wrote the pilot, and it was optioned 8 times, so it was optioned by Henson and Davis Entertainment and many others. And I'm looking to do it as a TV show moving forward into the future, now that I have my own studio. But once I did the pilot script with Elaine, I really wanted to delve into the universe and into the storyline. And so I pitched it as a trilogy of novels to HarperCollins, and they bought it. And I co-wrote the first novel with my friend Barbara Hambly, and Maya Bonhoff and I collaborated on the second novel, and Maya did a great job writing it. And the third novel I wrote with Robert Charles Wilson, and it basically follows essentially what you heard in the audio play is the beginning of the story, and then we go much further into that world, into the story, and we see what happens with Tina and with Cal and Goldie and Doc and all of our wonderful characters, Stern, and we introduced many other characters along the way. So the 3 novels are in print. They're available from HarperCollins as ebooks and hardcover and paperback, and you can get them from Blackstone Audio as unabridged audiobooks. Armin Shimerman reads the first one. First one is Magic Time. Second one is Magic Time Angel Fire. Third one is Magic Time Ghostlands. And I'm actually going to be writing a 4th one called Magic Time Paradise Road, but I'll do that after we do the TV series. And my notion for the TV series is to open it up. The Magic Time novels take place in the continental United States. Cal and Colleen and Goldie and Doc travel from New York down to West Virginia, thence to Chicago, thence to South Dakota in the 3 novels in search of what caused this change in the world and to save Tina. And in the 4th novel, Paradise Road, they'll get to the West Coast. And but as I open up the series, I want to do it where we see what happens in Europe, we see what happens in Asia. So I'm looking to do co-productions with other companies in those countries and networks in those countries, so we can really see the world of Magic Time, which is the entire world. So that's some of the basics, some of how it came to be, where it stands now. I'm very glad that I came up with it. I'm very glad I've gotten to work with such wonderful collaborators on this project, the other writers I've worked with on it, and also the wonderful actors. And David Raiklin, of course, and Alan Darien, composers, and they've also brought a lot to it. David Raiklin is also the producer. He oversaw the audio engineering and all of that in the Magic Time audio play, so I'm very grateful to him as well. So, and of course, Sarah Jo does a terrific job as Tina. I just listen to it and I love it, and I'm very glad to share it with you. And in these times now of great division, I think that we need the message of Magic Time now more than ever, that we can reach across these boundaries, that people are not as different as we might think, and that the more we talk to others who are different from us and see that their hearts are the same, we create a world worth living in, whether it's our world or the world of Magic Time. So that's it for now. Marc Zicree. You can check me out more on Facebook or on my website, marczicree.com, or on my YouTube channel, Mr. Sci-Fi. Happy to answer any questions, and I'm very glad to share magic time with you. So until next time, take care and bye-bye.